Well, hello everyone. It's getting in. Good morning, but good evening for Nani. Everyone say good evening for Nani. Well, I start presenting. We are with Nani Septianie from Jakarta, Indonesia. She will give us a presentation about empowering ASEAN digital sovereignty, uniting regional strengths amid global economic turbulence. Also, Nani Septianie is a master's student in Universitas Gadjah Mada, majoring in international relations. Her research interests include ASEAN and Global South studies. So everyone, welcome Nani. Thank you very much for joining us today. So, well, I think you can start whenever you want to.
Okay, thank you for the presenter to having me for tonight to explain about my paper, my research regarding the Southeast Asia region. Okay, for today, I'm going to explain about the empowering ASEAN's digital sovereignty, uniting regional strength amid a global economic turbulence. So, in the era of the global economic uncertainty, ASEAN countries that that have a designing post-pandemic economic recovery strategies because after COVID-19 hit every countries in the world, especially in Southeast Asia region, need to balance their economic aspect as well to recover the economic because of the COVID-19. So this presentation aims to explores how Indonesia and ASEAN countries as well are leveraging regional cooperation to foster digital economy independence as a key component of their post-COVID-19 recovery efforts. Because after COVID-19 era at that time in 2019, in the end of the 2019, every countries, especially ASEAN region, they're maximizing the digital ability, the digital technology impact to recover the economic aspect. So that's why it's very important, very crucial to know how the digital works to recover our economic cooperation. And then wait. Okay, so for this session, I will explain regarding the previous economic condition in Indonesia and each countries in ASEAN as well. So the first is COVID-19 impact. The pandemic negatively affected ASEAN supply chains integration with China and the US because of the trade war as well, that potentially causing a 32% decrease. It's mixed harms regarding the micro, medium, and small enterprises as well, and our tourism aspect, because Indonesia and every region in ASEAN have a very dependent to the tourism and small micro enterprises as well. So when the COVID-19 appeared in every countries in the world, the every aspect that I have explained to you guys before, it's totally didn't work at that time. So yeah, the previous economic condition is totally very low, and because of the COVID-19 impact in every countries in the ASEAN region. And the second problem is dependence on China. That, as you know, that Indonesia is the first partners countries to China. China is our major partner countries. So that's why, because of the high level of independence with China, Indonesia need to create more, how to we can independent more, and we can make innovation or make something that we make sure that we cannot independent with China anymore. Because Indonesia, and with the data, with the 41% of the exports going to China, and then 4% of import coming from Indonesia. And because China need more supply of the natural resources. What is aspect of the natural resources? The natural resources, the one of the natural resources is nickel, for boosting their industry, because China is the countries that have a high level of the industry. So that's why China need more our supply in part of the natural resources, especially in nickel. So that's why China need Indonesia and Indonesia need China as well. And I hope two countries between Indonesia and China can create the win-win solution. But in the reality, there are a lot of the China products in Indonesia. If you visit Indonesia, you can see in every market, there are a lot of the things that like made in China, that it happened because of our trading partners. The first trading partners came from China, so that's why it's not balanced. And I think to sum up, that Indonesia and China didn't make a win-win solution yet. So I think because Indonesia have a dependence on China more than China. So it's the second problem. So we are going to the third problem regarding the currency relevance. Because in 2016, Indonesia and China have the agreement regarding the yuan usage in Indonesia, and 2018 reaching 201 billion yuan, and US dollar dominance in transaction. So that's why Indonesia and China make cooperation to prevent the US dollar usage in Indonesia. So that's why Indonesia make a cooperate with the China to use yuan for international trade. Yeah, but the problem is, the thing is, when the yuan agreement appeared in Indonesia, a lot of the China products come to Indonesia more because of the yuan agreement. So that's why it's phenomenon need to rethinking again. Is it efficient or not using yuan? And Indonesia, I think, need to negotiate with the China more, to consult or negotiate, like how we can create the win-win solution, that you can make a profit from me, and and Indonesia can get the profit from you, from the China, I mean. So the win-win solution or the common interest is a very important to create the international cooperation successfully. So I think the third the things is the problems that I explained to you previously, the COVID-19 impact dependent on China and currency relations, that it happened in Indonesia and every countries in Southeast Asia region. And after that, regarding the ASEAN post-pandemic recovery design, and because of the COVID-19 hit every sectors in every region in ASEAN, so Indonesia and ASEAN rethinking about how we can survive, how we can tackle that problem because of the COVID-19. So ASEAN, especially Indonesia, And ASEAN partners create two strategies. The first is epicentrum growth. The epicentrum growth is focusing on the improving Southeast Asia economy to become a global economic power and emphasizing financial stability. It means like Indonesia and ASEAN partners, they rethinking about the how ASEAN can collaborate together to become the economic power not only in the regional but in the world. So yeah, this innovation, this concept is epicentrum growth that every countries in ASEAN think about the how to recover our economic because of the pandemic COVID-19. And after that, there is ASEAN pillars. The ASEAN create the three pillars. The first is ASEAN matters. The second is like I mentioned to you before, epicentrum growth and ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific. The ASEAN matters is like ASEAN need to balance regarding the economic aspect, and ASEAN as well think about the how to create a regional stability and inclusivity. So because that, as we know, that in current era, a lot of the challenges, a lot of the threats appear in every countries, not only in security aspect, but it can appear from the political, social, cultural aspects. So that's why ASEAN Matters is focusing on how we can tackle that issues, how we can tackle that threats, and how we can tackle that challenges to create the ASEAN more prosperity and stability, something like that. And epicentrum growth, that ASEAN need to focusing on how to become a first regional, have the highest economic in the world and the highest economic in their region as well. And the ASEAN outlook of the Indo-Pacific is like in the current era of the hegemony of like many competition of the superpower countries like China and United States of America, they compete each others. And because of the geopolitical competition, the ASEAN make sure that we are not influenced by them, so we can stay calm and do everything smoothly to achieve our national interest. So we not forget, so we ignore regarding like a geopolitical competition, something like that, but we can keep on focusing, keep on focusing on like how to make our economic and political economic stability in our region. So yeah, it's that post-pandemic recovery design, and then the economic and financial policies. This aspect is like a newest concept that ASEAN created after COVID-19. The first is currency dependency reduction, because of a lot of the US dollar appear in every countries in ASEAN region. So ASEAN have the innovation, has formed innovative scheme using local currencies, which means local currency transactions and regional payment connectivity. What is that? The local currency transaction is like a digital payment. So in Indonesia, in every region in ASEAN, we have like a barcode. We didn't use like a traditional money anymore, but we can, if you wanna transaction, if you wanna buy something, you can just show your barcode, and then the transaction is successfully. So yeah, it's like a local currency transaction, and we can use in every countries in ASEAN. So we cannot bring US dollar anymore. We cannot bring yuan anymore. Just use the local currency with the barcode. So it's the innovation that ASEAN created after COVID-19. So the second is ASEAN Digital Economic Framework Agreement. It's the new concept as well. They created from ASEAN because the implementation of DEFA focuses on the ensure that and promoting the micro, small and medium enterprises participation in every aspect, that because Indonesia especially and every countries in ASEAN have a high potential in tourism aspect and micro, small, medium enterprises as well. So ASEAN create this framework to make sure that these sectors can face the challenge because of the COVID pandemic previously happened. So yeah, it create the connective for digital economic growth across ASEAN. So I think it's a very crucial to make sure that our digital economics is safe right now, because a lot of the people, a lot of the transnational, I think it's create a negative impact if we cannot use the digital wisely. So the ASEAN Digital Economic Framework Agreement is that to make sure that using digital for making the every aspect is safe to use. And after that, we are going to the policy implementation. The first is LCT and RPC implementation that I have explained before. We use a local currency translation and regional payment connectivity through the barcode, and use it as scheme across countries. That that I have explained to you, we cannot bring US dollar anymore. And the second is DEFA execution, is like the execution is more focusing on the measures and MSME support programs. And because before COVID-19, there's no innovation like a barcode. I think the COVID-19 create positive impact as well for ASEAN, because without COVID-19, I think the innovation like RPC, it's not happened until now. Because of the COVID-19, I think the RPC, all the local currencies, digital currencies is appear in every region in ASEAN. So I'm not blessed the COVID-19 appear, but not totally give the negative impact, but there are some positive impact that we can take from the COVID-19. So the one of the positive impact is like the local currency transaction through the payment connectivity, through the digital connectivity. So yeah, that's DEFA execution to support MSME program. And then the governance adaptation is like the ASEAN countries forming the government structure appropriate to the individual conditions, law, and the regional agreement. And because of the post-pandemic COVID-19 era happen, every countries they use a lot of the digital in every aspect for helping in daily life. And the government adaptation, especially ASEAN countries, make sure that they can use it wisely, and ASEAN create the law regulation as well. So if the digital payment is didn't use with the regulation, there is like a punishment, not a punishment, but like I cannot say it punishment, but I don't know the similar to the punishment like what is that? Yeah, the Ministry of the Communication for the example, the Ministry of the Communication, if they found the people didn't use the digital transaction wisely, so the Ministry of the Communication will block their smartphone or block their data, something like that. So it's like you cannot use this anymore. So yeah, so it's like a law regulation of the ASEAN for make sure that the digital can use wisely. And then the economic performance evaluation that I explained to you before, this is the barcode that I explained. If you wanna go to Malaysia, go to the Philippines, Myanmar, and every ASEAN region, you can only bring this, and then you can barcode in every countries in ASEAN. So your transaction is successfully happen. And then the performance of the MMSA CRIS usage. CRIS means this one, the barcode one, but CRIS is created by Indonesia. And every countries in ASEAN have each name of the barcode, but Indonesia use the name of the barcode with CRIS. Yeah, and the MSME CRIS usage 91.4%, and the percentage of the CRIS use coming from the MSME groups in 2023, resulting in 1.3 billion transaction. It's like a big number, big data for using the CRIS usage, because before pandemic COVID-19, the MSME aspect, the MSME sectors is totally ignored by the Indonesian society and every society in the ASEAN. And because of this barcode, it's like a boom. Every community can buy this and make the MSME well known in every region in Southeast Asia. So yeah, I think digital transformation already create the positive impact in the ASEAN economic sectors now. And the second is the digital economic growth that projected positive impact as well, especially in Indonesia. And we are projecting in 2025 as well. Through the digital transformation, we can create more highest economic in the ASEAN region, that it can show you a data. And now Indonesia have the highest economic growth in ASEAN region for which is 1,480 billion dollars in the first ranking in ASEAN because of the digital transformation. So post COVID-19, the ASEAN rethinking more how we can survive, how we can create the innovation to recover our economic sector. So yeah, it's the result because of the digital economic, because of the international transaction as well. And the things is, the problem is now how ASEAN can maintain this data, can maintain this achievement, especially Indonesia, to for the next year can maximize the digital economic more. because of the growth of the AI and the growth of the digital transformation now, every countries have a lot of the innovation to create more digital economic. So that's why I hopefully ASEAN, every countries in ASEAN can create more beneficial from the digital transformation, and yeah, and the data security as well. Because if we can achieve the growth of the economic without considering the data security, I think it's totally zero achievement, because it can harm many aspects of our countries. And the collaborative efforts is a very important thing too, to think each countries, especially Southeast Asia region, that the first is through the digital transformation with the regional digital payment system. It aims to reduce foreign currency dependence that I explained to you before, because of digital transformation. With this barcode, Payno is from, wait, yeah, Payno is came from Singapore, and then PromptPay is came from Thailand, and Do It Now came from Malaysia, Kris from Indonesia, Kur Philippines, and MPU from Myanmar. So every 6 countries from ASEAN region have the innovation with the barcode to use the digital transaction for reducing foreign currency dependence. It's like yeah, I explained to you before. It's very beneficial for us, because the process with the barcodes is a very efficient and very fast if we wanna make a transaction, and as well as international transaction as well. And the second is local product competitiveness. The ASEAN now create and rethinking about the how to maximizing the regional superior sectors for the international market competitiveness, because Indonesia as countries have the China as the biggest partner countries. It's a very difficult to competitive in the market, because Indonesia have a very high dependence with the China, and China need Indonesia for the fulfill the natural resources, especially in nickel. And the China export a lot of their local product. I think it's like the problems it still happen in Indonesia, and like how to tackle the dependence issues with China, and how Indonesia can maximizing the digital transformation, and yeah, and Indonesia Indonesia didn't depend with the China anymore. So yeah, I think it's a problem that happened in Indonesia now that have to tackle collaboratively with each region in ASEAN. And then the third is regional cooperation, implementing free and active foreign policy principle. The free and active foreign policy principle is our foreign policy, Indonesian foreign policy. The free and active foreign policy principles means like Indonesia and every countries in ASEAN can make a cooperation with every region, no matter you come from, no matter what is your interest, but we can make sure that we have the common interest, and then we have a freedom to create a cooperation and active to make a diplomatic activity. So yeah, the implementing a free and active foreign policy principles is a very crucial thing to make a collective effort to maintain our economic aspect now and sustainability. So yeah, we are going to the conclusion and the future outlook. So to sum up, the first is that I told to you guys the first digital transformation, and ASEAN'S now focus on digital payment system as a strategy to reduce the foreign currency dependence, that it shows a promise for the regional economic independence. Yeah, because of the COVID-19 happen in the every countries in the world, and every countries think to how to create the innovation to recovery the economic sectors. So ASEAN thinks about that as well through the digital payment system as a strategy to recovery our economic sector, because with maximizing digital payment, it can make our MMSE sector have a highest level in ASEAN now, especially Indonesia. Indonesia have a lot of the society, have the first countries has a population in Asia region, and because of the high populations, so yeah, the digital payment is a very crucial for each community to use it with the MSME to create a high economic sector in Indonesia and in every region in ASEAN as well. And the second is the local product promotion. So we maximizing regional superior sector is a very crucial for increasing the competitiveness of local products in the international market that I explained to you before. Indonesia have the highest trading partners is China, and a lot of the local product and a lot of the China's local products appear in Indonesia until right now, and we still rethinking about the how to Indonesia can tackle the problem regarding how we can independent more and prevent any dependence on China anymore. So yeah, I think the innovative or the solution that I can suggest is like Indonesia and every countries in ASEAN can make a multilateral cooperation, because until right now, I think Indonesia more focusing on the bilateral cooperation, which means with China, not focusing on in multilateral cooperation, because we have the principle in foreign policy in Indonesia that I explained to you, free and active principle in foreign policy. Free means we can free cooperate with many countries in the world, and we can actively create international cooperation. It means multilateral cooperation, not bilateral cooperation. But in reality now, Indonesia just only create a bilateral cooperation. So I hope in the future, Indonesia can create the multilateral cooperation and can reduce the bilateral cooperation with China to create a more positive economic impact in the future. Yeah, because China is the first countries have a largest economic sectors now, because of their industry and their innovation. So that's why Indonesia have a good relations with China. and China give a beneficial to Indonesia as well. But if Indonesia totally dependent with China, it can like you cannot dependent with just one person only. We can create innovation with the another person. It means like another countries. So it's like a multilateral cooperation is a very important to maintain economic sector. So I hope in the future Indonesia can maintain with the multilateral or another countries, not only China, to create more cooperation, not only in the economic aspect, but in every aspect, social, economic, and political aspect. It can be happen if every countries can create the multilateral cooperation. And then the regional cooperation implementing the free and active foreign policy principle that I have explained before, that yeah, ASEAN economic growth is a very relying on with the foreign policy principle, because if we dependent with the one countries only, we cannot have the movement. We cannot just like there's no soft power diplomacy or the soft approach with the another countries. So I mean like we can create not only in economic aspect, we can create in the social culture aspect as well, to create the public diplomacy maybe. Because right now with China, Indonesia, a lot of the cooperation in economic aspect, and I didn't see like a political and cultural society cultural aspect. And yeah, because of the economic sectors is a very high level to cooperate between Indonesia and China. So yeah, to sum up that Indonesia, especially Indonesia and every countries in ASEAN, can independent more, can create the innovation more with the digital transformation, and learn about the COVID-19 impact. And we can learn regarding the COVID-19, and we can create more innovation more, hopefully in the future. Because right now with the digital transaction and digital payment, I think it's like a success innovation that ASEAN created now. But I hope in the future Indonesia and ASEAN countries can create more innovation and can reduce the independence with the trading partner, which means Indonesia can reduce the dependence with China. Maybe in every countries in ASEAN can, yeah, they can make the innovation more with anything and with any aspect regarding rather than the economic sector. I think that's all regarding my presentation. Thank you for your attention, guys, and hearing my presentation today. And if you guys have a question, yeah, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nani. Of course, if anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand. From my part, I really liked how you focus on positive side effects of the pandemic. I think that's very important to look upon what the negative parts. Some things have developed. If pandemic will never happen, you have never find these ways or solutions that are helping growth and of all the countries together. And well, we can start. Nicolas, please.
Thank you, Leo. Well, I had two questions. One specifically to what you told us about the electronic methods of payments. Because I just wanted to know if is it used just for local trading, or is used for international trading? Like, can I from Argentina transfer Argentinian pesos and you receive, for example, Indonesian currency? Is that's one question. And the other one, well, it's like more macro. Like, it's I know Indonesia's aim is not like geopolitical competition, as you told us, but it can be an explanation to the dependence on China. This geopolitical, how to say it, like low confidence between Western societies and Indonesia, for example. Like, I know you export a lot of nickel, and that's something that Western societies also import, but they import that product from, for example, Australia, Canada, the Philippines, which are more geopolitically near to those societies, and not because they are better or more nickel than Indonesia.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas, for the question. The first question regarding the electronic payment, you can use it in the ASEAN region only. So the ASEAN countries can use the electronic, but another countries unfortunately cannot use it because, yeah, I think still on process now, still ongoing to create innovation that Western countries can use the electronic payments, or I think it's still ongoing now. And the second is, sorry, Nicholas, can you shorten your question for the second question regarding the nickel?
Yeah, it was more like can be geopolitical, how to say, friendships, an explanation to the dependence of Indonesia in the importations of nickel from China.
It's dependence regarding use import a nickel from Indonesia, China. Yeah, because China and Indonesia is like China need Indonesia and Indonesia need China. China need Indonesia for take nickel a lot as much as possible to create their industry, and Indonesia need China to build infrastructure. For the example, Indonesia now create the speed train. The name of the train is Jakarta Bandung train station. If you know, that is location in the Bandung. So the material of the infrastructure came from China. So the two countries regarding the Indonesia and China is a very dependent, yeah, very dependent each other. But the important thing is like I hope that Indonesia can create more innovatively and not only dependent on the China, not in China only regarding the infrastructure, because I think a lot of the countries have the good infrastructure to building like maybe MRT, because Indonesia there is no have a lack of the MRT or the public transportation. It's a very beneficial to tackle the environmental crisis regarding the pollution in Indonesia. There are a lot of the many community population in Indonesia and create more population and create more pollution. So yeah, Indonesia, I hope that Indonesia can approach another countries to build the infrastructure that a green infrastructure or green economic, because until right now even though Indonesia create cooperation with the China, there is no innovation regarding the public transportation. Indonesia now still thinking regarding the how we can create the electric vehicles. I think electric vehicles it not totally effective for Indonesia because Indonesia have a lot of the population, and if we prefer to create a public transportation, I think it's more beneficial for Indonesia. Let's say if we create a public transportation and public transportation can carry 100 maybe 100 population in Indonesia, and then they can walk together rather than we can create the electric vehicles and it can harms like a traffic light, something like that. It's not effective if we can implement electric vehicles in Indonesia. So I mean, like Indonesia can collaborate more with other countries and how to think about the how we can create green economic and create the public transportation to carry a lot of the population in Indonesia. So yeah, I think that's it, because Indonesia and China is very dependent each other, but Indonesia can think about the how we can create a more beneficial for our society. I hope it answered your question, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Thank you. And Paula, please.
Hello, everyone. Well, first of all, Nani, thank you very much for your presentation and all your comments. They were all very clear. I think that nowadays it's really helpful to talk about all these technological tools and the impacts in every region. So thank you very much again. And as regards my question, you said that that ASEAN is one of the fastest growing regions in the world, and it's also expected to be one of the most largest economy in the world. I wanted to know, is the population in ASEAN young, or is it happening like, for example, in Japan, that the population is getting older and older and the younger ones are not getting pregnant to compensate this demographic situation?
Okay, thank you, Paula, for your question. Regarding the population in Indonesia, in my countries, is like the high graph of the population is coming from the pregnancy, the not like the oldest become older, but yeah, the birth data is a very high every year in Indonesia. If we compare to China back then have the regulation like a one China policy. I think it's a very important to reduce the population, but I know it cannot happen in Indonesia, and Indonesia will make a demonstration regarding that. But yeah, because of the data of the regarding birth is a very high growth every year. I think it's have a impact to the high population in Indonesia. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, does anyone else? Yosef, please.
Well, thank you, Nani, for your presentation. I also agree that the pandemic was a point where not only Southeast Asian countries, but a lot of countries in Europe especially realized that they had a big dependence on China, and that it was an opportunity to try to reverse that. So my question is how's the cooperation between ASEAN countries, specifically Indonesia and India, and if it is an opportunity to balance the growing power of China in Asia.
Okay, regarding Indonesia cooperation and India, the important things now, Indonesia plans to join BRICS cooperation with India as well, India and China. I think it's I'm not analysis yet regarding the challenges or opportunities regarding Indonesia join BRICS, but I will analyze it more maybe later. But for India right now, I think it's not a very significant like China, but in India, in the product in Indonesia and India have a cooperation in product as well. And for infrastructures, I think no, there is no. It's higher. It's lower than China, and as I said to you before, Indonesia more independent with the China, and regarding India, I think until now there's no like more innovative or the cooperation with India. I think yeah, that's it. And what else countries that you mentioned rather than India, Yesenia?
I asked about India and ASEAN countries, specifically Indonesia.
ASEAN as well. For the ASEAN countries, every countries in ASEAN, Indonesia make a cooperate in every aspect, especially in halal industry. For the ASEAN region, Indonesia and every countries in ASEAN cooperate in halal industry, especially in the sector of the tourism, and the sector of the food and beverage as well, and this in the terms of the infrastructure as well. So until right now, Indonesia and every countries in Southeast Asia rethinking regarding the halal industry to create the economic recovery post-pandemic, because of Indonesia have a lot of the Muslim populations, and regarding the another countries in ASEAN have the Muslim population as well, like Thailand, Malaysia. So the three triangle growth, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand, create the collaborative cooperation in halal industry. So yeah, the three countries is the three crucial countries create the halal industries cooperations to rebuild our economic recovery. I think the three countries is a very crucial to recover our countries regarding rather than China. Yeah, that's it, Yesenia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Yesenia, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, now that you mentioned halal industry, in our first lecture, the presenter Marcos, he also talked about Indonesia's and Brazil cooperation in this industry. So can you tell us about the cooperation between ASEAN countries and Latin American countries, specifically Indonesia?
Latin America countries and Indonesia. Okay, for the Latin America and Indonesia Indonesia have created the cooperation, especially in economic as well. And I'm not totally know regarding the subject of the Latin America studies, but that I know as far as I know that Indonesia cooperate with the Latin America in the aspect of the economic regarding investment or the like support in the nickel expertise as well for the Latin America. So yeah, but I think not has the significant cooperation between the Latin America. I think that's it. You mentioned halal industry previously, isn't it, or not?
Yeah, I mentioned halal industry because, like I said before, Marcos in his lecture, he mentioned that Brazil and Indonesia have a cooperation in the halal chicken exports. For
Palestine,
example,
Indonesia and Palestine that you mentioned, yeah?
Brazil, Indonesia and Brazil.
Oh, Indonesia and Brazil. Okay, Indonesia and Brazil have the cooperation not only in chicken but in rice as well. Indonesia import rice from Brazil, and yeah, in the halal industry as well, not only in the food and beverage, something like that, but Indonesia provide the halal industry in tourism sectors. So because of Indonesia have a lot of the Muslim population, we create the innovation how we can approach of the maybe like Muslim countries as well to visit Indonesia more, and they will enjoy our environmental regarding our halal industry that provided to the countries. With regarding the Brazil, it's the chicken as well and the rice as well and the infrastructure and then the tourism that we approach the cooperation with the Brazil in the every aspect, like I mentioned before, is like tourism and food, like that, and supply of the food. Yeah, it's to fulfill each other, fulfill our society, fulfill our needs, and sustainability. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, and Miko has another question, please.
Yes, now that you mentioned the halal industry, well, I just wanted to know more about how easy for Latin American countries is to get a certification, for example, or if the halal industry is like centered specifically in these three countries that you told us. And well, I know each country has like its own how do you say, like requirements of halal industry. Like I know there's something general, but each country adds and takes things out. Well, I wanted to know more specifically to Argentina, that we usually export well, cereals and meat, which is something we usually export, and how possible is for us to well get a certification, halal certification, and to export to these three countries.
Okay, thank you for the question. Till now, unfortunately, for the halal industry certification or the halal industry regulations, now it's only for the ASEAN region that ASEAN created. But for the outside of the ASEAN did not have the regulation or the certification to create a more cooperative, something like that, because of like ASEAN need to think more like how three crucial countries that I have explained before, Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia, that have a lot of the Muslim population. Three countries, they can collaborative more to approach the region outside ASEAN countries. I think it's a very crucial problems now, because until now, the three region that have the lot of Muslim population, just only triangle growth countries collaborate each other, but they didn't focusing on regarding the outside of the ASEAN. I think it's a very interesting question, Nicholas, for the suggestion for the ASEAN as well. Like ASEAN need to approach more like many countries outside the ASEAN regarding cooperation in the halal industries is a very crucial. Not only the background like how many countries have a lot of the Muslim population. I think it's not a very important to look that background, but we can make a potential regarding that how we can maximizing our potential. For the example, like the halal tourism, halal infrastructure, and the other sector that it can maximizing for each ASEAN region to approach the outside of the ASEAN countries. It's a very beneficial, but yeah, for unfortunately until now, the triangle groups, Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia, did not have regarding the regulation or the certification outside the ASEAN yet. I think it's maybe later on the ASEAN will create that innovation regarding to approach many countries to make more cooperation. That's it, Nicholas. Is it clear? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yesef, we listen to you.
So I wanted to know, because digital transformation nowadays, especially in economy, is very important in the future, but our countries from the global south have an extra challenge regarding the inequality gaps between the population. So my question is towards what is the Indonesia's strategy or ASEAN's strategy to surpass these digital alphabetization gaps between the population?
Okay, for fulfill the gaps between the community and digital usage in Indonesia and every region in ASEAN is like ASEAN create an ASEAN digital framework right now, fortunately. So it's like the new one framework that ASEAN established. I forget the year of the established, but it's still new post COVID-19 after 2020. So the ASEAN created the ASEAN digital framework to secure all data, each community in every region in ASEAN. And the ASEAN framework itself encourage the framework to encourage the people like MSME explore more how Indonesia local product can booster more in international society. So that's it, like because of the existence of the international digital framework of the ASEAN, it's like the potential to every region in ASEAN to secure the data, not only to secure, but to encourage many people in every region in ASEAN to boost the local product as well, and then to campaign how to use the digital more wisely, more, and they can make digital beneficial to their daily life and they're beneficial to economic. So yeah, I think the crucial things is like the campaign from the framework to the local society in every layers of the society, like the ASEAN campaign, the ASEAN framework that encourage to every people in ASEAN, like you can use the digital for growth your economic, you can use your digital for sharing the information to make it beneficial, but make sure that you can use it wisely. I think that's it. Yeah, because of the ASEAN digital framework, that the newest framework that created post COVID-19.
Thank you, Nani.
You're welcome, Yesenia.
Well, Mati, please.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Nani, for your lecture. It was so interesting for all of us because, well, here in Latin America, we are so far from Indonesia and all the ASEAN countries. So it's every time is always very interesting to know about all these countries, specifically from Indonesia. My question is about, it's related to Yesenia's previous question about India, which is the relation or maybe the influence that has in Indonesia foreign policy and all the Asian countries of Australia, because we see that it's maybe very allied to the West, to the United Kingdom or in the States, and maybe it's like balancing against China, maybe. So, what is the meaning of Australia in Indonesia's foreign policy and the Asian countries? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matthias, for the question regarding the relations to the Australia and Asia countries rather than Tiongkok, rather than the China. I think it's more like for the not more in the investment, but they just only more investment the economic in the sector of the investment, export and import, like nickel and then the fabric. And then, but for the infrastructure, Indonesia prefer to choose China, and the Australia they choose like for the halal industry as well. I think Indonesia make a collaboration for the Australia the current era. The government of Indonesia still make a plan to approach Australia regarding the industry for the halal industries, because of the many of the people, Indonesian people, exist in Australia. So Indonesian government approach to Australia regarding the halal industries right now. But in the investment, yeah, for the fabric, I think, yeah, Indonesia have a lot of the highest cooperation between not only in Australia, but also in the ASEAN region, in the ASEAN countries as well. Yeah, I think that's sectors, but Indonesia now, the problem is Indonesia need more infrastructure cooperation. So that's why Indonesia depends on China more rather than the other countries to fulfill Indonesian needs, because Indonesia have a lack of the innovation regarding to build the infrastructure. And if we reflect with the China has a highest innovation to build the infrastructure, but they lack of the natural resources. So yeah, so that's why China approached Indonesia to fulfill their natural resources, especially nickel. But in every Asia, in other Asia, it's not like a significant cooperation like China, because yeah, I think it's like not in the cooperation in the infrastructure. I think in the more in the investment of like industry in the fabric, and then the spicy and the spicy, because Indonesia and India have a similar to like a spicy. We have a similar spicy, like we can use it for food. So yeah, Indonesia and India have a highest cooperation in that term as well. Yeah, I think and the investment not significant, not significant like China, that have the highest cooperation in the aspect of infrastructure, but the aspect of the industry, yeah, I think Indonesia still make a high cooperation with the other countries rather than China, especially Australia and Asia and India as well.
Well, if anyone has any more questions, I have one for the close for the close-up. I wanted to ask, it's similar to last Yesenia's question. What do you think they are the challenges that ASEAN faces due to accomplish multilateral cooperation and digital transformation in a more, not economic aspect, like in a more political or social aspect?
Okay, thank you, Eleonora, for your question. I think the big challenges now faces by the ASEAN countries is the geopolitical problems that, as we know, in Southeast Asia region, there is a problems in the South China Sea, the competitive of the South China Sea between China and in Southeast Asia region. It's like the conflicts appear until right now, and there is no solution, and every country is still calm, even the problems still happen until now. It's like because every countries in ASEAN have a dependence with China. How can we battle China? Still we have a dependence with China, something like that. For the South China Sea, and Indonesia have the Natuna Sea. The Natuna Sea is very near with the South China Sea. If the South China Sea, if the problem of China Sea appear until now, it can create the threats to the Natuna Sea as well, because the Natuna Sea have a lot of the natural resources, not only in the level of the sea natural resources, but the natural resources of the Natuna Sea is a very beneficial to the local community in Indonesia. So yeah, that I explained previously. So it's very important to Indonesia negotiate to China, like, China, can you secure our national stability to secure our Natuna Sea? Because until now, the South China Sea, there is no solution, and every Southeast Asia region still calm regarding the issues, and there are a lot of the threatened military activity in the mid of the sea. I think it will create the threat to our sea as well, the Natuna, and then every sectors can threaten to, every sector in the cooperation between China and every countries is the first problems. And the second problems is the transnational problems. The transnational problems like migrants, and then the environmental crisis as well. Because back then in Indonesia, the one of region in Indonesia, in Riau have a lot of the forests, and then there was deforestation activity, and deforestation activity create pollution, a lot of pollution, and then the pollution happened to the neighbor countries, especially Malaysia, Singapore, and then Singapore, Malaysia angry with Indonesia because of the deforestation, because of the pollution from the deforestation activity. I think it's like the second problems, and the third problem is that I previously mentioned is the illegal immigration, that a lot of the migration without a legal action enter Indonesia through the sea. So I think, yeah, it's a very important to Indonesia and every countries and ASEAN make sure that the national security can achieve in the ASEAN region. I mean, like Indonesia and every countries in ASEAN can collaborate more to secure the national stability, especially to prevent the illegal migrations and that term. So yeah, to sum up, there are three problems that faces in Southeast Asia until now. The first is the South China Sea between the competitive of the ASEAN region, ASEAN countries and China. And then second is the traditional problems regarding the environmental problems and then the illegal migration as well. I think it's the important problems till now there is no solution and there is and still exists until now. Thank you.
Well, no, Nani, thanks to you. No, it's too late there. You must have, you must want to sleep. So if anyone has any more questions, please, or thank Nani or have any comments.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to the great conference for today, so I can share my knowledge and you can share your knowledge to me as well. It's a very beneficial for me as a student now, as a master student, and I'm apologize if I have a lack of didn't answer your question totally. Yeah, because I'm expertise more in the Southeast Asia region, especially in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia and the global South as well. But yeah, I apologize if I didn't answer your question totally. Yeah, for Tusama, thank you for inviting me, and hopefully we can keep in touch in the future.
Of course. No, I think very clear. Everyone understand very well, and you answer us all of our questions. So thank you very much. We are so thankful. And does anyone have any comments?